Throughout our lives, we are taught how to set goals and make goal lists for the year. What if I told you that what we are taught is wrong? There are fundamental aspects of goal setting that are often missed. In the past, just like many of us, I have spent multiple days in January putting a list on a sticky note just to find myself struggling. Over the years, I have found 3 particular tricks that can help us unshackle goal setting and make better goal lists. Let's talk about them. Hi, I'm Paul. I'm a full-time ER doctor and a part-time efficiency nerd. I believe that time is the most valuable currency we have. So on this channel, we talk about how to optimize our life with the goal of freeing up 2 hours every day to get anything we want done. The first and the most important trick I've found is learning how to make our list more focused. When we sit down to write goals, it is so difficult to decide on what we should focus on. We get distracted by shiny object syndrome. Our mind bounces around from our diet to our weight to writing a book to getting a promotion at work. In the end, we end up writing too many goals for the year, which holds us back. Let's talk about a 3-step system and a pro tip that can help us narrow that list. There's a famous story told about Warren Buffett's private plane pilot, Mike Flint. Flint asked Buffett for advice on getting more things accomplished in his life and was presented with a simple 3-step system on how to focus on making a great goal list. First, Mike had to write down a list of 25 things he wanted to achieve during his life, professionally or otherwise. It could be anything, from traveling to family goals to more business clients. Next, Buffett asked him to circle the 5 items on that list that were the most important to the pilot. Finally, once he had done that, Warren pointed out that the 20 that were left uncircled must go on a never-touch list. They were important enough to write down, but did not make the top 5, so that they had the most ability to distract Mike. Only when he ignored them could he focus on what really matters. But what if we have trouble finding the 5 things that matter most out of our 25? There's a pro tip hidden in the teachings of Stoicism. When I was a resident, I couldn't decide between family practice or becoming an ER doctor. Each path would require different steps and completely different goals to accomplish within a short 2-year period. Trying to find techniques that would help me focus and pare my list down, I came across a concept in Stoicism called death meditation. The idea is thinking about your funeral, people around you and things you've achieved and actually cared for during your life. You can then work backwards and cut out things that wouldn't matter to you when you die and focus on things that make the most impact on your life. Death meditation has helped me cross many things off my list. For example, I've always wanted to learn another language, but I realized that it was probably not that useful for my work when Google Translate is free and available. It helped me decide if shift work or a scheduled clinic for the rest of my life was important to me, and eventually it helped me point my career to the chaos of the emergency room. The surprising fact about the Warren Buffett story is that it is fake. Warren Buffett debunked it himself in 2013 when he was asked about his famous 5 out of 25 list rule. But the 3-step system is so simple that it becomes extremely effective, especially when modified. So first, we write down a big list. Next, we use death meditation and work backwards to narrow it down. And finally, we ignore all the other distracting goals until or if we are done with the first ones. I personally keep the 20 on a separate list and check in with it once in a while to make sure I didn't get distracted. I've actually found that the 5 goals is too much for the year. And the second trick I'd like to talk about is how to split that list using another pro tip. We commonly underestimate how long achieving our goals will take. So often only using a short-term 1-year list is less effective than separate goal lists with different timelines. Just like a company has quarterly targets, yearly goals, and an overall long-term multi-year strategy, we should split our targets. After I've gone through my 3-step system every January, I like to split my list into 2. One section has 3 goals for the year, and the other 2 land on a long-term list for 5 years. The problem is that it's hard to think long-term, so I'd like to use a technique called mental imagery. It is a term often referenced in athlete research as early as 1985, and this field of research has actually been showing positive outcomes in recent years. Studies have found that athletes can activate parts of their brain responsible for learning their sport if they just sat and imagined a match. Ultimately, they were getting better in their sport by sitting on a couch and just thinking about it. The key is believed to be imagining the details, movements, body positions, and strategy. Now, these athletes were often experienced and familiar with the sport, but we're all familiar with faking the answer to the question, where do you see yourself in 5 years? We've all been to interviews and dates. So let's use this for our own benefit. Let's actually answer that question. Personally, I like to sit down and visualize a day in my life in 5 years in extreme annoying detail. From the very morning, when I wake up, what time is it? Is it 3 a.m.? Is it 5 a.m. or 8? Do I live in a city or a small town? Do I put on a suit to go to work or scrubs or a t-shirt? Do I drive to work? How long is that drive? Do I care about how long the drive is? Do I work in a small or a big hospital? When I come back, is it 5 p.m. or 3 a.m.? Do I live close to my family? Do I have a family of my own? Do I have kids? In practice, this method of mental imagery can help us focus our efforts better. Let's say I need to figure out my financial goals over the next 5 years. If I picture myself working in a smaller hospital, smaller city with cheaper houses, and further away from my parents who live in the big city 2 hours away. That means that ultimately I can likely afford a house with a smaller down payment, but need a schedule at work that would allow me time off to actually go and see my family. My 5-year plan would then involve less focus on saving money. I'd invest what didn't go into down payment, but more focus on finding a hospital that has a balanced schedule with time off. I would only work in a hospital or a department that would allow me to do that. On the other hand, if I want to live in the city, maybe downtown, and take the subway to work, but be close to my family, I probably should not finance an expensive car for 5 years, but rather focus my budget on a down payment for a more expensive downtown house. I can probably work more weekends to make up the difference because my commute is likely short. Mental imagery is a quick and effective strategy to figure out what problem our 5-list goal is solving. But after writing my 3+2 list, I always spend a little extra time on trick number 3. When we go on a diet, we need to know if we're actually losing weight. Whatever your beliefs are on calorie counting, it is universal that we have to weigh ourselves on somewhat of a regular basis to actually know if what we're doing is working. So many times I've starved myself throughout the week to then eat half a pizza on Sunday and realize on Monday I've lost no weight at all. So why do we look at our goals in a sticky note and forget to weigh them or score our progress in some sort of objective way? When I didn't get into medical school on the first try, I realized the things I needed to work on, like improving my interview skills and learning to write a better application essay. I put them on my short-term 3-goal list. But I was also lucky enough to have a check-in buddy, someone I've known for years who was also struggling that year. We got into a monthly schedule when we would call each other and score our own progress towards our goals out of 10. The key is that we also had to explain the score. It kept me accountable to someone else, and just the act of having to justify my progress helped me focus on the task at hand rather than sulking and procrastinating. We both ultimately succeeded, but we kept our check-in schedule over all these years. Having a scoring system and a check-in buddy is the best trick I've learned to have accountability and focus. If you don't have one, make that a priority this January. Find someone you feel comfortable with and get a regular schedule going. Have a self-scoring system out of 10 and monitor your progress. It can make a huge impact on getting your list done. Goals are just destinations, but we get there by getting our shit done on the daily. If you'd like to learn tricks on how we can use psychology and neuroscience to help keep us on track, check out this video next. Thank you for watching.